Welcome to the Arsenal Tottenham Fan Podcast. I'm your favorite Arsenal fan, and I'm here with your favorite Tottenham fan, but very sad, Rick Nelson.
Hey, Cal, how you doing?
Welcome, Rick.
Well, I'll tell you what. At least just by being here, I'm doing more than the Tottenham players did yesterday. I'm showing up. There's many would have thought that I wouldn't be here tonight, Cal.
This is a fact. And, to the Arsenal fans that have chosen to tune in, we appreciate you being with us. We urge you to subscribe, rate, and review us. And if you listen to our run-in preview podcast of 3 or 4 weeks ago, I urge you to make your reservations for Friday night. Because while it was not the result we all wanted, it was still St. Tottenham Day.
We said this last week, Cal. That is gone. That is over with. You haven't had that for years. You're you're dusting off the cobwebs on that one.
So small solace to Arsenal fans and a little salt for the wound of the Tottenham fans.
Oh, it can't get any worse.
So we're going to review the Arsenal Southampton draw first, and then we'll talk about whatever happened at St. James Park after that. Then we'll do some previews. We're going to preview the Arsenal-Man City game, which comes up on Friday. Are we going to preview Tottenham's game over the weekend?
Sure.
And we're going to preview.
We have a game Tottenham on Thursday. You guys play Wednesday night. We play Thursday night.
That's right. I forgot. Y'all are playing on Spursday. So
that's correct. Correct.
So we'll start by
keep them coming.
We got to get them all out because I'm getting ready to talk about drawing at home to Southampton, which was extremely depressing. First thing I want to hit is the lineup. Xhaka was sick, so Arteta put Vieira in the lineup, and when I saw it, I was all for it because what we don't want to do during a run-in, what we don't want to do during squeaky bum time necessarily, is do things that are unusual. Because when you do that, when you go out of or when you go off of script, that says to everybody around that, hey, what we're doing is not working. Maybe there's a lack of confidence. And Vieira has subbed in for Xhaka all year. He has that role. If we are to progress in the Champions League and have the year that we want next year, Vieira is going to be a really important part of that. We really need his productivity. So he has to develop. So I get why putting him on in this game, in that situation, why Arteta did it. We can talk a little bit about whether it worked, which it, certainly didn't, but the first minute of the game certainly did not help that. Because you put Vieira on when you expect to have the ball, when you expect it to be a bright, sunshiny day at the Emirates, and we've got the bottom team coming to town, and we're going to score a lot of goals. What you don't put him in is when you expect to go down 1-0 inside the first minute.
Yeah.
And crazy. That's what happened to us. And I think that's maybe the second time in the last 3 or 4 matches at the Emirates that we've been behind 1-0 in the first minute. I mean, how often does that happen in a year or, in 50 matches. And it's happened to us in at least 2 out of 4 home matches. So let's talk about that goal. So we play it back to Ramsdale. And if they do not go to close down Ramsdale, they don't go to press him. So Ramsdale has all kinds of time. And if you look, if you go back and watch the highlight of that goal, what you're going to notice, Ramsdale picks the ball up on our left side of the penalty box, and then he dribbles it toward the center of the penalty box. And so he is looking straight at Rob Holding. And what you want is your center back in that case to say, give me the ball. The keeper's got it, play it to me because I can find somebody. But does Rob Holding want the ball? No, he does not.
Rob Holding. Rob Holding's right up there. He's a championship defender along with Eric Dier.
Yeah. And he's pointing at Zinchenko or Party or one of the two in the center of the pitch. And so that's a problem. People say, are Arsenal bottling it or also Arsenal nervous? When you don't want the ball, that is the first sign.
Yeah, it's a bad sign.
That you are nervous. And so 15 seconds into the game, Rob Holding is telling his keeper, don't pass it to me. So, Ramsdale plays a poor pass. He doesn't have anywhere near enough on it. But the problem really starts with Rob Holding not wanting the ball. Now, Ramsdale rolls it out, doesn't have near enough on it. Alcaraz is kind of hiding behind Thomas Partey a little bit, so maybe Ramsdale doesn't see him. But as soon as that pass is made, he swoops in, takes a touch, and, credit to Ramsdale, he almost saves it. He gets a hand on it. But, bang, it's 1-0. And we had, and you cannot do that. You cannot do that. And I think the second thing that it made us do. So in the West Ham game, one of the things that we were not very good at was getting the ball out to Saka. And the reason was Ramsdale would play it to Holding. And Holding would scan the field. And then he would roll it back to Gabriel. And it made it on Gabriel to play the pass forward. Partey wasn't dropping back. So Holding had a challenge in time. He would either, kick it long to Saka, or he would put White in a bad position, or mostly he just kicked it across to Gabriel. And then that forces us to go up the left. So after that mistake, what happened is Partey would drop deep into that spot. Like if you look at Partey's heat map, it's pretty much where Rob Holding should be.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he was dropping deep to progress the ball because we didn't have anybody to progress the ball there. So, so that threw us all kinds of out of whack, emotionally and structurally. In the 8th minute, I made a note. Zinchenko was winning headers. One of their strategies was to play it long to Zinchenko's side, and all credit to him because he got up and won 3 or 4 headers early in the game. So he did a great job of deflecting that strategy. In the first 12 minutes of the game, Jesus had one touch. So that showed what kind of issues we were having progressing the ball. And I think having, going down 1-0 contributed to that. But also Partey having to drop back to just play out of the back contributed to that as well. And then Southampton scores their second goal in the 13th minute. And we talked about, Holden's issues. And I don't want to put this all on Holding, but you got to point these things out. I talked about Holden's issues, passing the ball and progressing the ball out of the back. In this instance, Odegaard with a terrible giveaway right on the center line. He passes it infield, doesn't look where he's looking. Doesn't look where he's passing. Southampton guy right there takes it. Well, as soon as the ball is being intercepted, Holding is right next to Alcaraz. Maybe 15 yards inside the half line. 10 yards, 15 yards inside the half line. Well, as soon as he sees the ball intercepted, he drops. Rather than stay connected to Alcaraz, he drops because Holding is concerned about getting beat for speed. He sees the guy have the ball at the half line. His first thought is, oh my God, they can play it in behind me. So he drops. Well, Gabriel, Saliba doesn't drop. Saliba is not worried about getting beat for speed because he's about as fast as anybody out there. Well, when Holden drops, that does two things. One is it opens up Alcaraz for the pass. Bang, first pass right into his feet. The second thing it does is it catches Gabriel upfield. So now Holding is 6 yards, 7 yards behind Gabriel, which opens the door for Walcott to run in behind him, which he does. And again, Holding has got to be, if Holding is with Alcaraz, he either intercepts that pass or he fouls him or, he stops that through ball pass. But when he's dropped back, Alcaraz had all day to pick that pass. In behind Gabriel. And if there's one thing Walcott can do, and we all Arsenal fans know it, is when he gets in behind, he can finish across the keeper. And that's what happens. And it's 2-0.
Who was Holding in for?
Saliba.
Saliba, right? Is he out for the rest of the season?
Well, David Ornstein reported today that he's not going to be available for Man City. And Arsenal thinks that he is out for the rest of the year. He hurt his back in the Europa League game against Sporting.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, you're going to stick Holding up in there again with those guys?
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we'll talk about the preview. But, Arteta has a really interesting, problem to solve prior to that game. But in this game, Arsenal's down 2-0. And there's 80 minutes left. More than 80 minutes left. That
can be a good thing, though, right?
Well, I don't know. And so it's 2-0. They're scoring. They're going back. And Zinchenko gathers the Arsenal team around. And I think the BBC broadcast or the Sky broadcast, they were critical of Zinchenko for that. I've seen some other criticism on Twitter, and I've also heard some people on some podcasts. The Arsenal Vision podcast, I think, was one where they said that it really didn't have any effect on the game. And as a Dean Smith disciple, and not Dean Smith from Aston Villa fame. And who's he coaching now? Leicester. He just went
Yeah.
to Leicester. Not that Dean Smith. The Dean Smith from University of North Carolina, Tar Heel Dean Smith, college basketball coach. But one of the things he instituted was gathering or the team huddling at the foul line to call the defense and make sure everybody was on the same page. And I think in this case, what it did for Arsenal, when you are playing and you are in a high pressure situation and things have gone sideways, it is easy to think that you are alone. Hey, I have to do something to get us back in the game. And the worst thing that can happen is to have 11 players all of a sudden thinking, I have to do something. When you gather around in the huddle as a player, you see the other players, you see your other teammates, and just that huddle can give you comfort that, hey, I don't have to do this alone. I've got 10 other guys here with me, and together we can get that done. So while I don't think necessarily Zinchenko's, speech or, hey, let's get this thing going or whatever words were said had much of an impact, I do think that just huddling up and everybody coming together, I do think that had an effect on the game. And we scored, 3 minutes, 5 minutes later. And, it was a heck of a goal. And we talked about Partey getting Saka more involved. And that's exactly what happened. Is we got Saka involved. And this time it was we got the ball to Odegaard. And so, people have criticized Odegaard for disappearing. And in this case, he made a great through ball into Saka. But one thing that when Partey drops back, what that does is that frees up Partey's marker to move over to Odegaard. So when Partey drops out, Odegaard has less space to operate because there's not another man square to him that he can play the ball to.
Yeah.
And I think that has hurt. I think in this game that hurt Odegaard. But when we get him the ball, he's dangerous. And in this case, it was a great through ball to Saka. And Saka cut it back. And you got to give Martinelli that's not an easy finish. And he's smashed that off the half volley into the goal, and it got us back in the game. And from that point on, I mean, Southampton did some time wasting prior to that, but after that, oh my God, it was like 30 seconds between goal kicks. I made a note. I'm like, hey, we got to keep the ball on the field. I mean,
we're still We're still waiting for Wenger to change that rule, right? Which is
right.
one of the good things that he's trying to get implemented, right?
That's right. I thought for sure Arsenal would have had that changed by halftime.
I'm all for you get a throw in, you've got 10 seconds tops to get that ball back in play, or the other team get the throw in.
Well, that's right. And you look in basketball. They got 5 seconds to get the ball in.
Yeah.
Or it turns over. And it should be the same thing in football.
Yeah.
You get 5 seconds. If the ball isn't left your hand, it goes back over to the other team.
Having said that, time wasting sucks, but when it's our team doing the time wasting, then we're okay with it, right?
That's right. If by some miracle we could get a 1-0 lead at the Etihad, I would be happy if they just took the ball and left.
Football fans, right there, that is, Cal. That is it.
That's right. In first half stoppage time, uh, Ben White had a great header. I think it was off a corner, beat the keeper, and Alcaraz was there to save it. I mean, what talk about a great half. Alcaraz has a goal, an assist, and a save.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good half. Um, and then Jesus had two shots that were blocked, really good shots in the box. He made great contact, just slammed into a Southampton defender. And so that was the half. And then to start the second half, Southampton takes Alcaraz off, and they go to three at the back. I mean, we had to be saying, what great luck
Well,
for
yeah.
Rock.
Southampton coach is on talking to Stellini. What should I do? What should I do
Yeah.
here?
And, it must have had an effect on us, like understanding how to attack them, because in the 56th minute, we bring on Trossard for Vieira. And a lot of, in the 2020 hindsight view, maybe Trossard should have started for Vieira because that would have been our best 11. But I get, again, why they started Vieira, but, this game kind of passed Vieira by. I had mentioned that in, this kind of game, in this kind of heat, it takes special players to step up and want the ball. And didn't really see Vieira demanding the ball. I mean, to his credit, when he got it, he looked to do something with it. But he wasn't out there demanding it. I mean, credit to Xhaka. Xhaka's going to be out there asking for the ball. Vieira wasn't. So from the time that from halftime until Southampton score, which is in the 65th minute, Arsenal had 79% possession. They made 64 passes in the attacking third. They had 80% of the possession in the attacking third. And they got off 0 shots. There's your problem. And I don't know if it was the 3 men at the back or exactly what was going on, but we had almost all the ball, and the ball was almost around the entire time around their penalty box. And that's, 20 minutes, and we couldn't even get a shot off. And that's the epitome of wasted possession. And, you can't say when we score 3 goals that the offense lost the game or, was the reason for the draw or lost the points. But at the same point in time, when you have that much possession, that deep in the opponent's territory, and you can't even get a shot off, that does portend that there are some issues that need to be addressed. And I think we solved it later in the game, and we'll talk about that. But Southampton finally get forward in the 65th minute, basically one foray into our penalty box. Party kind of with a giveaway. It turns into a corner, and bang, they score the third. And that's, to give up a goal off a set piece. Championship teams do not do that. They don't give up the third goal, and to give it up off a set piece is, terrible. And not to keep pointing the finger at Rob Holding. And I hate to do it, but his man is who's got the header to the back post. If there's one thing Rob Holding has to do, it is beat his man to the ball on the set piece. I mean, that's why he's in there. You've got to be able to do that, and he didn't do it. Now, our star boy lost his man at the back post for about the simplest header for a goal that you could ever have to make it 3-1. And then we started playing. Credit to the team for not giving up, not hanging the heads, not crying about it and feeling sorry for themselves.
That last 20 minutes was bonkers. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
it was. They want it. I just don't know that they know how to get it.
Yeah, you could be right there.
The want to is not the problem.
I think Arteta had his doubts about that in the last game. He said they didn't understand what they needed to do.
Yeah, yeah, and in this game, early in the game, and I think they have some players that are hiding, and championship teams do not, they do not have any player that's hiding, much
Come
less
by us. They can play hide and seek all day long by us.
Well, unfortunately, that's not what we are. On the 87th minute, Odegaard scored a great goal. Give credit to the captain. That's what captains have to do. You put on the armband for a reason. That was probably so far when we're down 3-1. That's probably the low point of our season. And because if we lose, we're done. If we lose that game, we have no chance at winning the title. And all credit to Odegaard for stepping up and scoring a goal. And I think what we discovered, they were playing three at the back. They were packing in deep. We score most of our goals, certainly a lot of our goals. More so when the field is stretched. We are a team that likes to run in behind, send a winger down to the end line and cut it back, have a winger, take the ball down the field on the dribble, cut inside. That's how we get most of our goals. Send Jesus in behind. But what started happening toward the end of the game is Jesus, especially, started taking up positions in the penalty box with his back to goal. So he was occupying the center backs with his back to goal, and that was keeping them from rushing out at our shooters a little outside the box. And Odegaard scored his goal right at kind of the top of the box. Then Saka scores his goal. And if you remember, Jesus has his back to goal. Ball comes into him. He passes it out. And some people may question whether it was a pass or a deflection. But he's pinning the defender back. He passes it out to Reece Nelson. Nelson takes the shot that was saved. But the deflection goes right to Saka, and all of a sudden it's 3-3. And then the ref puts up that there's 8 minutes left. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, when that came up, because I watched the highlights, but I saw the last 20 minutes live.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw the 8 minutes come up, I thought, you got it. You're gonna get a fourth goal. Because Southampton were done. They were out on their feet.
I thought so too. Trossard had one go off the crossbar. Yep. Really good shot. If he's just a little further out, maybe it dips below it. He had the keeper beat.
Yeah. Let me clarify. I wasn't cheering on for a fourth goal.
Wouldn't have thought you would be.
Let me just make that clear.
And I got to give credit to Reece Nelson. So we're piling on the pressure in the box, and they break. Yeah. And Nelson went on a 70-yard sprint and won the ball back. And We put him on for Martinelli, and nobody sprints like Martinelli. But in the 95th minute, Martinelli cannot make that sprint. And that may have saved us the point.
Yeah.
That right, that may have saved a 4-3 to Southampton. Because let's be honest, I mean, we have not shown that we can defend breakaways very well. So when he breaks, it is all incumbent on Reece Nelson to chase that guy down, and credit to Reece for doing that. This is a guy who was out of contract at the end of the year.
Yeah, then they offered him a new contract, though, right?
Yeah, we've offered him a new contract, but he's not going to sign it until he sees what else is on offer.
Yeah, he'd be better off going somewhere he can play regular football.
Well, he'll do what Major League Baseball players do, and look where the money's biggest.
Oh, yeah.
If Aston Villa offers him more money than Arsenal, he's going to Aston Villa. And if Arsenal offers him more money, he'll stay at Arsenal. I mean, and that's fair. That's the free market system. So good on him, but also good on him for chasing that. I mean, chasing that guy down ain't going to get him $1 extra. Scoring that goal might, but chasing that guy down, he did that for the badge. Credit to Reece Nelson for that. And then in the 98th minute, they had a couple players go down. So the referee was going to add a couple minutes of injury time onto what was already injury time. And credit to the ref for adding the time wasting back onto the game. Partey takes the stupidest, wildest shot that has been, what was he, 35 yards out? And he just kicks it in the stands.
Yeah.
I mean, there's maybe 60 seconds of game time left. Maybe, but, that 60 seconds, if you're pinning them in, the ref is not going to blow the whistle while the ball is in their box.
No, he's going to let
the ball is in their box 2 minutes. You're playing for 2 minutes.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that wastes almost all the time that's left.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's such a good player, but that was just not good. And then Jesus, in the little time that's left, goes down in the box looking for a penalty. That ain't happening. A guy's not going to bail him out in the 98th minute, with the penalty. You want to do something, foul them. Make him call a foul on you getting the ball.
Yeah.
But don't go down looking for the soft foul. So, all in all, Arsenal with a draw. Hit the stats real quick. Shots, Arsenal had 25, Southampton had 8. In the stat that matters, shots on target, Arsenal had 5, Southampton had 6. That'll give you an idea how poor our defense was. We gave up 6 shots on target. Hard to win a championship when you are consistently giving up 5 and 6 shots on target.
Well,
you give up 6 shots.
Think about this. That's 3 consecutive draws.
Yeah.
That's two losses and a win.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you look at it that way, right?
That's right. And so you've got on XG, Arsenal had 3.1, Southampton 1.6. So we did not, do a very good job. They had 3 goals and 1.6 XG. So defensively, in goal, something Ramsdale has to look at as well. But you mentioned 3 consecutive draws. That's right. Before that were 7 consecutive wins. So we can also look at it like Arsenal are unbeaten in 10 games. Arsenal has a 5-point lead at the top of the table. and Arsenal fans are looking to hang themselves, you know. So I heard, I think it was the Handbrake Off podcast, or where they read a tweet from someone who said, you know, Arsenal are the only team, or the only Arsenal fans are the only fans that can make a 5-point lead at the top of the table and 10 games without a loss feel bad. But that's where we are, you know. And so what this game means, this game really doesn't mean anything, because the game that means something is on Wednesday.
Yeah.
You know, that's what this game means. This game means you got to go to the Etihad and you got to get a result. You got to. The margin for error is gone. Hey, and I think it was James McNicholas that said this. I can't remember. But they beat us in the Carabao Cup. They beat us at the Emirates in the league. So if you play them 3 times and you can't get a result, you don't deserve to be champions.
So, yeah.
You know? Hey, and that's okay, because they're Man City. You know, they are well on the way to the treble.
No, for sure, yeah.
You know, so before we go, I want to talk about man of the match. And in a draw, have a hard time naming a man of the match, especially when it was a game we should have won. But you got to give credit to Saka and Martinelli for outstanding performances. You know, we can talk about guys hiding around the pitch here and there. Them 2 guys don't hide. You know, they are all guns blazing, playing as hard as they can, doing everything they can do to create goals and scoring opportunities. So all credit to those 2 guys for a great game. And, you know, people say Odegaard disappeared here and there. Hey, he finished with a goal and an assist, a goal and a hockey assist too. So, you know, not terrible on his behalf either, even though he did do a bad giveaway. Rick, any other comments on that game?
No. I thought, you know, Southampton, we did say last week, though, this could be a tricky game.
Yeah, for
right?
sure. For
And
sure.
it certainly turned out to be that case. Hey, look, we drew 3-3 with them too. So,
yeah.
You know.
So I get up Sunday morning.
There we go.
Kind of late, stayed up Saturday night late, and go into the kitchen, gonna make breakfast. It's about 9:00, a little after 9, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. There's a couple games on Sunday. I was like, Tottenham was playing. Not sure if they're playing the 9 or the 11 game. I was like, I'll check and see if Tottenham's playing now, and maybe I'll go watch a little bit of it. It was 3-0. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, leading up to the game, you know, Paratici, whatever his name is, he resigned because his appeal was turned down.
Right.
You know, not I don't think the greatest loss, but optics, you know, being what they are, you know, not great. You know, you talk about the last 20 minutes of the Arsenal-Southampton game being bonkers. The first 20 minutes of this game was Rumfeld-esque, shock and awe, right?
I did not. Obviously, I didn't see it. So what?
I thought at one point, I thought that I'd hit the button with my ass and changed over to YouTube, and I was watching highlights of goals because they were coming so fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
literally. I don't think I'd seen anything like this. Do you remember the Brazil-Germany game in the World Cup, the semi-final game?
Oh, yeah.
7-1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I remember that.
The Germans kept scoring, and everybody, like, I'm sitting at home going, what is going on here?
Yeah.
What is happening? Yeah. That's what I was doing Sunday morning. Like,
did you sit there and go, Newcastle scoring all these goals, but where is Alan Shearer?
Right. I mean,
That's like, how come Alan Shearer hadn't scored one of these?
mind-boggling. Well, on Twitter was Gary Lineker, when we were 3-0 down, said, good to see things are back on track at Tottenham. And then at 5-0, he tweeted, I'm going to stick my neck out and say, I don't think Tottenham are going to turn this one around. Danny Rose, who used to play for Tottenham, I love Danny Rose, he was a great player. He was commentating in England on Sky Sports. And he said at halftime, how am I unemployed? I mean, it's horrible, but you got to laugh, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
so let me ask you.
I've never seen anything like it, Cal. I mean, I'm fed up coming on this podcast and saying that's the worst I've ever seen Tottenham play. Well, I've topped it again because that's the worst I've ever seen a Premier League team play. Period.
Wow.
Period. Wow. Like that first half, I mean, they were shit for the whole game. But that first half, fair play to Newcastle. I mean, we let them play like that. They played like that. But fair play to them anyway. They're a great team. They're going to go on, kick on next year, I'm sure. But that wasn't even a championship level performance. That was a League Two performance. I've been to Isthmian League games at Dulwich Hamlet and seen better performances than that. That is the worst performance by a football team that I can recall. That's how bad that was. Literally.
Yeah. In last week's podcast, I had mentioned that I had thought that Tottenham quit. Do you think Tottenham has quit?
But based on that game on yesterday, yeah, they quit yesterday. I'll get onto the future in a minute, right?
Okay.
But that game, listen, Stellini come out afterwards and said, the first 25 minutes was the worst football I've ever seen. Right? Okay, well, I'm not a footballer, but me too, right? Because I've been watching it for 50 years, right? So and that's the worst I've seen. Just totally unacceptable. He came out and he played a back four.
Right.
So why you do that in this game when you're still trying to get into the top four? Why you do that, I don't know, right? Because Porro and Perisic are wingbacks.
Right.
Dier, oh God. Dier, right, is only used to playing in a back three. The only reason he got in the England team was because of his utilitarian purposes of being a back three player. Right? So, and then you got Romero, who's retired, basically. He's won the World Cup and said, I'm pretty much retired for the rest of the season. Right? Which is a shame because the guy is great when he's great, right? And when he's not, he's just not. And the last few games, he is not. He's like, I've got my medal. I'm just going to clean it for the rest of the year, right? Because some of the things he's done over the last two games and yesterday with the nonsense he's doing in our box, right, in our own box, is schoolboy football,
right?
But having said that, we played in a back four system, and we hear the players are not used to it. Listen, my understanding was that these were grown adults, and that they were professional footballers, right? And if my coach says to me, "Say what we're going to do, we're going to practice all week with a back four system. Okay, we're going to watch film, not grainy film. This is not 1948. high definition. We're going to zoom in. You're going to get all of this. We're going to talk about it. We're going to practice it. I would like
Look
to
at it
think,
on your iPad.
I'd like to think that as a grown adult and a professional footballer, if I ask you to be a defender for me, that you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ball's coming at you and going, hey, is this mine? Should I get this? Who gets this? Is this Harry's? Shall I call Harry over? Are you freaking kidding me? You know what I'm saying, though?
Oh, yeah.
I understand you're not used to the system because we've played 3-4-3. I get that, and we switch back to that during the game. I understand that. But if the coach is saying, Stellini said afterwards, fair enough, if it's my fault because I transitioned to this new formation before the game, and I take responsibility for that. All right, fair enough, Christian. That's great. You've already done something that your mate didn't do.
That's right.
That was take
That's right.
responsibility. You're a big
Mm-hmm.
boy. Your mate isn't, right? Again, even so, I'm watching that press conference and I'm like, hang on a minute. So if I'm a carpenter, right, and I go into somebody's house and they say, hey, can you put these cabinets in? I go, cabinet? Well, I do countertops. Do I need a different hammer for that? You understand what I'm saying, Cal? If I'm
Yeah.
asking Porro, I know you're not a defender, and I know you're a wingback, Perisic, too. I get that. Can you put your foot on the freaking ball, right?
Uh-huh.
It's not hard, is it?
Uh-huh.
So, but yesterday, this whole team looked like. Have you ever seen Monty Python when they do that football match and they're all walking around looking up in the air like that, and the balls come and they're walking into each other like, "Oh, after you, sir," right? That's what that was like yesterday. It was so hard to watch and almost comical. I turned to my son and I was like, this is almost funny. This is almost farcical. Murphy picked the ball up. I think it was the third goal. And he literally just walked it in. Because I said to my son, I went, oh, no, after you, sir. Like, this is Monty Python. It's like, oh, no, after you, sir. Right? I was like, you can't be serious. Right? It's an absolute joke. Right? So today, we knew it was coming. Stellini's been kicked back to Italy. Levy sacked him, right? So,
Oh, I didn't even know that.
oh yeah. So let me read the statement. I won't read it all. It's not a long statement anyway. But this is what, and for the first time in probably 4 years or more, that Levy's actually put something out there, right?
Oh,
Because
okay.
that was part of the frustration. Nobody gets anything. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So this is what he said. Dear all, Sunday's performance against Newcastle was wholly unacceptable. It was devastating to see. We can look at many reasons why it happened, and whilst myself, the board, the coaches, and players must all take collective responsibility, ultimately, the responsibility is mine. Christian will leave his current role along with his coaching staff. Christian stepped in at a difficult point in our season. I want to thank him for the professional manner in which he and his coaching staff have conducted themselves during such a challenging time. We wish him well. Ryan Mason will take over head coach duties with immediate effect. Ryan knows the club and the players well. We'll update you on his coaching staff in due course. Blah, 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 right? We spoke with the players committee today. The squad is determined to pull together to ensure the strongest possible finish to the season, right? So I think because I have such a great footballing brain that I said a few weeks on this show that they should give the job to Ryan Mason
Yes, you did.
because he knows the players, he knows the club, he's Tottenham through and through. You'll at
You
least
said
have
that.
at least have some pride with the guy playing.
Yeah, you said that when Conte was still manager.
Right. And now we're doing it, right? I mean, but that's beside the point. A little bit of credit to Levy because he's again doing what the guy that he sacked before this one would not do.
Mhm.
And he's taking the responsibility, which he has to. He's the chairman of the club.
Mhm.
Um, but it right now is a complete mess. There were so many bad things yesterday.
You
San-
started Sar in midfield.
started Sarr in midfield. There are two people in that game who I see who are absolved of any responsibility for the shite that went on yesterday, and
Mhm.
that would be Sarr
Okay.
and Davison Sanchez,
What?
the man that they booed every last week because Sanchez came on right after
Uh-huh.
20 minutes or whatever it was, and that's when we switched right. And Sanchez actually had a pretty decent game considering. You know what I mean?
I would have never expected those
Yeah,
two.
yeah. He wasn't man of the match. He's not winning any accolades. I'm just saying, based on
I
that,
understand.
as pathetic as that game was, the only person that you could look at and say, well, he didn't do anything. Him and Kane, because Kane was hardly involved apart from the goal,
Uh-huh.
right? But Sanchez actually had a good run. He stopped a couple of attacks. I mean, on the basis of that game only, right? He had a decent game. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I thought it was harsh on Sarr, you know, to take him off. Um, I just didn't see the point of it at that time. Maybe
Sure.
later on, but at that point, it didn't seem to make any difference. Eric Dier continues to be Eric Diabolical, right? He he played a pass yesterday to Son. Son is facing Dier, so he's
Uh-huh.
facing his own goal. He has, I think it was Joe Linton, literally breathing down his neck, and Dyer pings the ball straight to Son. And as the ball's going towards him, I said to my son, "What the hell's he passing it to him for like that?"
Uh-huh.
Right? I mean, you're a centre back. You have the whole pitch in your vision. That's your job,
Right.
right?
That's
Whereas
right.
strikers and midfielders kind of have to have swivel head. You've got that is your job as a centre back. You have a whole field of vision.
Mhm.
And you pass it to Son when he's got 9'9" Joel Linton breathing down his neck.
Mhm.
Joel Linton just throws Son out of the way, takes the ball, scores a goal directly from that pass by Dyer. It's like, where is your decision making? Well, you haven't had any decision making skills all season because I brought him up on this program a lot of times,
A
Dyer,
lot.
and it just keeps doing it. That was insane, just insane. Lloris, I'm on a tear now, Cal. I'm on a tear. Lloris was at fault, I think, for the third and the fifth goal. I mean, I don't even know what to say. This guy was in a World Cup final a few months ago, you know.
Yeah.
Then he doesn't come out for the second half. Whether you're injured or not, the rumors are going to abound, whether you
Of
like it
course
or
they
not,
are. Of
right?
course they are.
You're 5-0 down and you don't come out. Fraser Forster comes trotting out, and I'm like, hello, what is going on here,
Uh-huh.
right? Even if you really are injured, you're going to get ripped. You're going to be seen as not wanting to come out.
Well, yeah. He didn't want to come out.
No. Son, I want to tell you, the same old, same old. I mean, it's the season from hell for him, really.
Mhm.
Um, Kulusevski hasn't been right since he came back from injury. That's not an excuse. Um, a couple of things with Kulusevski. I don't know whether it is a mental thing. We keep hearing that all the time. But what I'm saying is, I don't know whether he needs to spend a little bit of time in the weight room because it seems that I'm watching him week in and week out, and he's getting knocked off the ball 4 or 5 times in a game, like literally,
And
and then he's on the floor like this, and I'm thinking, like, is that a gingerhead Brian Hill? Right? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And in that game yesterday, he just he just got knocked off the ball so easily.
and that's in fairness, that's unlike Kulusevski. He last year he did not get knocked off the ball
Well,
easy.
so my point is, that's what I'm saying. Are there a couple of things here? Is it mental? Is that a confidence thing? Because there are, and I'm sure about this, and they spoke about this on The View from the Lane, which is a great podcast. Um, that as good a coach as Conte is, from a confidence standpoint, he has knocked the stuffing out of these guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Without a doubt, you know. Because whether we like, I mean, sport is about confidence, right? It's about that
No
mental
question.
ability, right? And he has definitely drained some of the players of that. Again, not an excuse, right? So whether Kulusevski needs to bulk up a little bit during the summer or get his mind straight, but he's getting knocked off the ball way too much. Way, way, way too much. Like cheaply. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But you knew that Newcastle couldn't keep that up for 90 minutes. It was shock and awe, right?
Well, I
It
mean, it would
was,
have been like what 97 to
yeah,
1.
yeah. It would have been just unbelievable. I mean, I don't, we last time we lost at St James's Park was what 2016, 2017. That was 5-0 when we lost then, and I think that was the last game of the season. When we lost to Leicester, we finished third in the 2-horse race. You know what I mean? It's just been, oh god. I don't think we lost to Newcastle 7-1 in December '96, and we lost. Their biggest beating was Liverpool 7-0 in '78. I don't know, Romero. I mean, I spoke about him briefly, but I mean, he just let Joel Linton waltz past him like he wasn't even there. Literally, it's like I said, like he's almost retired. Like I'm just not playing. It's insane, you know. Like anything though, you got to put this game behind you, right? I mean, it's happened, it's done, it's now history, it's in the can. The
You got a
players,
new manager.
yeah, well, yeah, for 6 weeks anyway.
Yeah. So, what team has to cope with the Tottenham new manager bounce?
What, with Mason, or you mean
Yeah, yeah. What team are you playing on Thursday?
Man United?
Oh, okay.
We got Man United Thursday and Liverpool Sunday.
Oh, wow. What?
So if football being football, we should beat Man United 3-0.
Wow.
Seriously, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
That
and everyone will be like, oh, Tottenham's not too bad, and this game will be history. And I
yeah.
say that because it is, right. It's like it's a bad game, historically bad, but it's bad in the context of everything else that's going on around Tottenham as well, which makes it worse, right?
That's right.
So it'd be bad if you got beat 6-1 and you were doing well or doing okay. But because everything that's going on with what happened with Conte and Levy and Paratici and all of that nonsense, and what's going on at the club, it's just compounded. But just like if you're winning and you're doing well and you win 6-1, well, Eddie Howe will be telling the guys this morning, okay, that was a good game yesterday, guys. Really proud of you. Now we've got so-and-so on Saturday.
That's right.
Same thing, right? You've now got to pick yourself up, though, Tottenham have mentally, right? Hopefully, with Levy coming out and actually doing something and saying something, and it looks like they've met internally, it's hard. I always think about, because I've been there so many times, the fans. Newcastle is in the arse end of England, right?
Right.
It's right next door to Scotland, basically. And for all those fans who travelled up there yesterday, I mean, the players should really refund them. If they should, everyone that went to Newcastle yesterday should get refunded or let into Thursday night's game at Man U free of charge at Tottenham on Thursday night.
And they should pay the train ticket.
Yeah, absolutely.
and a couple of beers that they had while en route, and 10 beers while they were on the way back.
Yeah. Because that's just wrong. Now, having said that, football being football, and we spoke about this before, if you go to a restaurant and you have a bad meal, you tell everybody about it and nobody goes in that restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
It's not happening. As much as I was livid yesterday, will I be watching on Thursday? Of course I will.
Yeah.
Of course I will. And I plan on going to England this year in August. Will I be buying a ticket before I go to a Tottenham game? Of course I will.
Awesome.
So, right?
Awesome.
It doesn't change. You know, we're the ones always that get hurt by it, right? Because
Mhm.
you can't have a team that you've supported for like 50 odd years and be like, oh, that's a bad game. Oh well.
Right.
No, you're livid about it, but then Thursday night you got to have 60,000 people get behind the team to try and beat Man United.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it. Same as the players have got to come out and go, right, that was Sunday. Don't ever do that again.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, at this point,
So now Thursday night becomes an important game to see the attitude again.
well, I was going to say that to me, if I was a Tottenham fan, that would be more important than the result.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, because if we come out and we lose 2-1 or 3-1, but it's a doozy of a game and these guys are running themselves into the ground. All right. But we said that all season long, though, Cal, right? It's like
Yeah.
they've got to play and they haven't looked like they wanted to play. Even when we've won, we haven't
Yeah.
looked like we give a shit because we've
Well,
won.
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I think about hockey, and you're familiar with hockey, and over here, if a hockey team gets down 3-0 in the first quarter, there's gloves flying.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean, the team that's down, the team that has the 0 is dropping sticks and throwing gloves.
Yeah.
And, we haven't seen that out of Tottenham.
Yeah.
So to me, if I was a Tottenham, that'd be the first thing I was looking for is when are my guys going to start dropping gloves?
Yep. And it's got to start again against Man United on Thursday night,
Mm-hmm.
right? You've got to show that you want to play for us. It's as simple as that. You have to show us that. And I've said this before, all said and done, but come August when the new season starts, this will all be history.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a new manager in place, and maybe the expectations won't be so high. I mean, this year they were high, right?
That's
Because,
right.
and we've said this before on the podcast too. When Conte was saying, "Oh, lower expectations," and well, no, you got the job because you were the humdinger of a winner,
That's right.
right? So whether it's at Tottenham or wherever you go, there's going to be expectations, right? If we hire some dude, if we hire Sam Allardyce to take us next year, the expectations will be low because
That's
it's
right.
Sam Allardyce. But you are Antonio Conte.
That's right.
Expectations come with the job when you get hired and you're getting paid 20 million a year.
That's right.
Right. So, yeah, the expectations were high. I think, depending on who we get, and I hope we don't get another big celebrity manager. I just want someone that's just going to come along and take the team and build the team as we go along. That's fine, But it's back to the drawing board Thursday night.
Yeah.
Just get this out of the system. It's not nice. Turn off your social media because you're not going to like the memes, boys. So, right, and focus on Thursday night. And maybe they will get a little bit of a bounce with Ryan Mason now.
Yeah.
Maybe let's see what the formation's like. Me personally, I would tell him go out there and do 4-4-2, but with the wingbacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do a 4-4-2. Do something. Flood the midfield a little bit because we haven't done that.
Got nothing to lose.
Go for it.
Right. Yeah. Arsenal have put in a full season, and it all comes down to Wednesday night. Yeah, it's if Arsenal does not leave the Etihad with a result, they will have a 2-point lead, and Man City will have 2 games in hand. That would be toast. No, Arsenal absolutely has to have a result, a win, and all of a sudden they can control their destiny because they've got an 8-point lead, even though Man City has 2 games in hand.
Yeah.
A draw, Arsenal still has a 5-point lead, but Man City has to be perfect on the run in.
Yeah. Well,
They
I
can,
watched. Yeah,
but will
I
they?
watched highlights of the FA Cup semi-final against Sheffield United, and Mahrez got a hat trick,
Yeah.
and I thought Mahrez is such an underrated player,
Mm-hmm.
and he hardly ever plays for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, that's Man City.
Yeah. That's right.
We got this guy, and we hardly ever play him.
That's right.
What
I
the
mean,
hell you got to do to get into that team? That
yeah.
just shows you right there, man.
Yeah. So, it's an incredible challenge for Arsenal, but these are the games that you want to play. As a
Yeah,
fan,
yeah,
these are the games that you want to watch.
all day long.
So, this is why we are sports fans. These games are why they are athletes. It is why they put in the work that they have put in their entire life.
Well,
So
I'll
it
say
should
this
be.
as they say on the blue side of Manchester. Come on, City.
That's right. So Arsenal have played City twice already this year, as I previously mentioned. In the League Cup game, Arsenal played Holding and Gabriel in the first half. And Holland gave Holding more than he could handle. I mean, to be honest, it looked a lot like Holding against Son last year at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, but
he really struggled, and Holland stayed on his side.
it's getting silly with Haaland. It's getting silly. It's just getting silly with the
Yeah.
numbers.
So, but when Saliba came on, Saliba handled him because Saliba is as big as he is, and Saliba is as fast as he is. So he's still great. Don't get me wrong, but there's not many people that have that same combination of speed and size. Saliba does, so he could at least match up with him physically. Rob Holding is not as strong and is not as fast.
Yeah.
So we have an issue there. We have an issue that we're not progressing the ball well or keeping the ball. We're more susceptible to the press with Holding in the lineup. And we're not defending well. I mean, we're not stopping the other team from scoring goals. If we're not progressing the ball and we're not playing great offense, that's okay, as long as we're not conceding goals by the bushel, but we are. In the last 3 games, we've given up 2 and 3 goals. So, in the game summary, I mentioned Rob Holding was the potential culprit. So everybody now for Arsenal is, what lineup can we put out there that does not have Rob Holding in it? The challenge, of course, for Arsenal is that we've had Holding in the lineup for the last 4 weeks. And we do not have but 4 days to prepare for this game. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. If we had a full week, I would not be surprised at all to see a lineup change or even a formation change. With the short preparation, will we actually make a lineup or formation change? One thing that I think lends itself to that is Arteta as Pep's protege. The pupil always likes to try to outsmart the teacher. So will he try to do something unexpected that Guardiola may not have prepared for? So I have looked at some formations and some lineup changes that we can make that would take Holding out of the lineup. So the one I heard this morning when I listened to the Handbrake Off podcast was moving Tierney in at right back and putting Ben White at center half, the right-hand center half. Tierney's left-footed. He's a really good defender. And Jack Grealish plays on that side. And Jack Grealish is having a great season for City. And Grealish is right-footed, and he really likes to cut inside. So Tierney, as a left footer, would have his strong foot guarding Grealish's right foot. And while that may be a defense first type substitution, I think it's still plausible. Tierney has played right back for Scotland, so it wouldn't be the first time he's ever played there. One challenge that we would have, but we're going to have this challenge irregardless, is Haaland is so much bigger than Ben White. So, how is Ben White going to fare in that duel? A second formation that I have seen is to move Partey to right back and to bring Jorginho into the midfield for Partey. Having Jorginho in this game would be good because, Jorginho is a Euros winner. He is a Champions League winner. And he's really good at keeping and progressing the ball, two things that we need. Having Partey has played right back for Atletico. The downside to that is, Partey is a solid defender, but he's not a great defender. Partey's also, very susceptible to muscle strains, and I don't know that I want Partey running up and down the touchline at 30-some-odd years old or 29 years old and being susceptible to muscle strains, because even if we get something in this game, we're going to have to win the rest of our games. And, if he's gone, that reduces that chance. Something that I haven't seen mentioned is moving Partey to the right-hand center back spot. That may be the change that affects our team the least, because it's only Partey going into the right center back and Jorginho coming on for him. Partey spent a lot of the Southampton game at right center back with the ball, so that wouldn't be different. We would just have an extra body in midfield. Partey wouldn't be required to do a ton of running, so he should stay relatively healthy. Now, whether he can actually defend Haaland or not is a challenge. But I don't know that we have anybody that can defend Haaland. So I don't know that that's necessarily a big negative. I mean, is Partey going to be any worse defending Haaland than Holding would be? I don't know. Something else we could do is we could go to three at the back. We could play White as the right center back. We could put Gabriel as the middle center back, and we could bring Tierney in as the left center back. And all of a sudden, that would give Gabriel a better opportunity to match up one-on-one with Haaland, who's probably our best. If we're going to match him up one-on-one, Gabriel's the guy that we would want on him. Then we could play, we could do a 3-4-3. Then in the midfield, we would play Odegaard, Partey, either Xhaka or Jorginho, and then Zinchenko with Saka, Jesus, and Martinelli up front. That might be, a really good lineup. We could also go with a 3-5-2. We could play that same three at the back, White, Gabriel, and Tierney. Then in the midfield, we could play Saka, Odegaard, Partey, again, Xhaka or Jorginho, and then Martinelli. And then up front, we could play Trossard and Jesus. I like both of those. And I would not be surprised. Arteta's reticent to change when it's working, but something's not working. So I would not be surprised to see us come out in a three at the back. We beat City in the FA Cup with a three at the back, playing kick and chase to Aubameyang. So I wouldn't be surprised to see us come out with a three at the back in one of those two formations. However, getting a result is going to be an incredible challenge, but I can't think of a game I have looked forward to as much. I really look forward to the Euro Finals game against Chelsea, and we got smashed. I really look forward to the Leicester game in 16 when they came to the Emirates, and Danny Welbeck got the header to win the game at the death, and I thought we were going to go on and win the title. Not. So this looks to be a fantastic game. Can't wait for it. Come on, you Gunners. What do you think about the game, Rick?
Well, anything can happen, but I really have a hard time seeing past City losing this one. Not just because Arsenal seem like they're faltering. I just think that even if Arsenal had won their last 3 games, I still think it would be hard to beat City at the end.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
just
no question.
Because they have quality everywhere and sitting on the bench ready to come in. I mean, it's
for sure. For sure.
I just think I think they're going to come out guns a blazing, because I don't think they're complacent, because Pep Guardiola won't let them be complacent.
Well, they certainly won't be complacent for this game.
No, and they're on for the treble.
Yeah.
So it's, for me, it'll be a win for City. But you're right. Like most Arsenal fans, they're all doom and gloom no matter what. But there's still 6 games after this one.
I think 5 games after this one.
5 games. Still 15 points after this one.
That's right.
I mean, and we know, I don't know who City's schedule is, but I mean, they could go to Southampton and draw 1-1. Who knows?
Yeah, they got to go to Brighton.
You just don't know. I mean, you literally don't know.
Well, that's a fact. I mean,
I'm just saying that on paper and from what I've seen with my own eyes, it's really hard to look at anyone beating City, except I will say the only team that I think that are capable of beating Manchester City is Real Madrid.
Yeah. Who they have
in the semi-final, in the thingy,
in a two-legged cup. In a two-legged tie. Hey, thanks everybody for listening. Really appreciate you tuning in. As I mentioned earlier, please rate us, review us, subscribe. You can follow Rick on the Twitter machine at ATF Podcast 1. You can follow me at ATF Podcast 2. Rick, you want to plug the website and Instagram page?
Arsenal Tottenham Fan Podcast.com. Check us out. All the episodes are up and running. This one will be on there before you know it, in the blink of an eye. And check me out on Instagram. I'll be putting up some posts this week again, as per usual. They're funny. You'll have a laugh. At Arsenal Tottenham Fan Podcast.
All right. Come on, you Gunners. Biggest game of the year. Arsenal over Manchester.
Come on, Tottenham. Find your balls.